Hello and welcome to Brain Function. We're very excited to have you here on the show with us today. I'm Anika Kulander, your host for this episode, and today we're going to continue our conversation about neuroplasticity and how it can affect personality change and personality growth. And to help us talk about this topic, we have invited a very special guest, Dr. Khorramshadi from New York. Welcome.
Good evening. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here today. So last time we talked a little bit about how neuroplasticity can help with the rehabilitation of people who have experienced strokes and can also help with things like sports therapy, physical therapy, and stuff like that. So today I'd like to talk to you about how neuroplasticity can help with helping somebody change their personality. So before we start, can you help us define what is personality?
Sure, definitely. Basically, when we're talking about the nature of the behavior that is, inflexible. You are doing this type of the behavior every single day, and the people know you based on your behavior, based on different type of the emotion and type of the behavior that you are providing to the society. So when we are talking about the personality, means that little by little what type of the behavior or emotion in syncing in your body, in your brain, and then you towards other people. So some of them, personality could be kind of the lonely people, such as the schizoid people. Some people are kind of anxious, such as the all the time anxiety and nervousness. And some people are kind of weird, and sometimes they do have the superficial emotion that we call it as a borderline personality disorders. And sometimes they are kind of paranoia. Is so suspicious to everything that we call it as a the paranoia personality disorder. So based on what type of the different character or behavior that you are showing from yourself to the society, they will know you with this type of the personality.
So these kind of personality disorders, like borderline, for example, I've heard are things that a lot of doctors say there is no real cure for this. So can you explain how neuroplasticity might begin to help change some of these behaviors?
Absolutely. Well, when we're talking about the personality and type of the behavior that comes out from this type of the personality, means that something sinking there, and it's not easy to change it. So when we are talking about the changes, means that we have to know about the different stage of the change and how we can make a change for a permanent duration of time, not change your behavior, be on time. Maybe you will be on time for a couple of sessions, but based on your type of the behavior that is sinking in your your neuron system, you're going to get back to the previous habit, and you're going to be late for the rest of the meetings. Or when I ask you that to be optimistic, maybe you can change for a couple of days or weeks, but after that you're going to come back to the same situation. So when we're talking about the changes, we are looking for something as a permanent changes, or we are talking about some type of the behavior that usually is the much better outcome during the day, or during the time that we know the individual. So neuroplasticity means that you can change the wire of your brain. So if you get the same impulses all the time, so you do have the same behavior. If I ask you to buy a cup of coffee for me, and every single day you go from your office to the same Starbucks to get this cup of coffee for your colleague, so you are going from the same pathway and you get the same direction. So if I ask you to change it to go to some other coffee shop, for example, go to the Coffee Beans or somewhere else, you experiences different events or experiences. So you're going to see the different people, you're going to talk with the different people, based on changing
I'm
the
sorry, but
changing.
your audio seems to be cutting out a little bit. Could you
How
repeat
about now?
what you just said?
Sure, sure. I was saying that, if you change your route, you're going to get a different result. I mean, by this example, I was trying to explain to you that if you go somewhere else, you're going to get something else. The same is happening to your brain. If you stimulated your neurons with something different, you will get little by little different impulses from the outside that is going to come and sink in your brain and your behavior. So if I ask you to go to the nature and just enjoy the weather or sky, or enjoy the sounds of the music of the birds, you will get the pulses that life is beautiful, and your brain's making some kind of theta waves that brings for you relaxation. But if I put you in a some kind of a situation that is a kind of anxiousness and nervousness all the time, you feel edgy. So then, what type of the stimulus you're going to get it from the outside, you do have the same inside. And if we can change the stimulus from the outside, we can have a different income outcome, actually. So what I'm trying to explain to you that neuroplasticity is changing the wire of your brain, is changing the firing network in your brain. So yeah, little by little, if we can change the thoughts, if we can change the feeling, and if we change the emotion, we do have the different outcome, which is a different behavior.
So, when you mentioned earlier, so say you ask somebody to be optimistic for 3 days, for example, that's them kind of using willpower to change that, and the results are not long lasting. So, if someone wants this permanent kind of personality change or personality growth, is that requiring a change in their outside environment, like you said, so they constantly have different stimulus, or how does one go about rewiring that?
We do have the different stimuli outside. It's up to you to choose which one, and it's up to you to look at which one. So I mean, in outside, in the outside world, we do have the thousand stimuli, but it's up to me to look at which part of the kind of paranoid person all the time. I'm going to be very nervous about any minor trauma or any minor sounds that I can imagine it. But if I try to choose to be relaxed, to be calm, and to be not too paranoid, so I'm going to try to translate. I'm going to change my translation to the event. So that's why when you change your translation, you're going to have the different feeling, and based on the different feeling, you're going to have the different type of the behavior.
So when you're talking about changing the translation, you mean that the person is changing the way they perceive things. So they're reframing stimuli from their environment that they might usually get into a different context. Is that right?
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
Okay. So are there exercises that people can do to help with that, or is it just a matter of saying, like, oh, you usually react really strongly to a car horn going off, but now every time you have a car horn, please associate it with this other thing, or like, how does somebody perceive things differently? Because our perceptions form the basis of our realities in our world. So how do we do that?
Well, it's the first step is that to understand that these emotion or these feeling are not down, permanent. They are coming and they are going. It's going to takes for your brain between the 2 to 3 seconds to make a chemical, in your brain. If you get anxious or nervous, 2-3 seconds later on, there's a lot of chemical in your bloodstream regarding that makes you anxious or nervous. If you are in a state of the love or relaxation, there is 2-3 seconds only to stimulate the type of the hormones and neurotransmitter that brings you that type of the status in your mind. So basically, first of all, is the neurochemical in the brain. But we have to understand that this event is going to continue, means that, neurons comes for only 2-3 seconds, but the effect is going to be very longer. If I ask you to go to the movie theater and watch a horror movie, for a couple of seconds, there is a rush of the neurotransmitter to scare you, to make a frightened statement in your mind. But you are carrying on this type of behavior or emotion during the day or even a couple of days after the movie theater events. So basically, what I'm trying to tell you that we have to train ourselves regarding the emotion is temporary. But this effect is going to be very long-standing, and we can control this long-standing effect by controlling our brain, by controlling our mind, by controlling of all of the feeling that comes to you. And little by little, if you do hypnosis, if you go to the meditation, if you go to some kind of relaxation technique, if you listen to some type of tapes that brings the theta wave for you, little by little you get the status of the mind in a relaxing, smoothing status, and you will change your type of the behavior.
Hi, I'm sorry, you were cutting out during that last sentence there. Could you repeat? I think the last thing I heard was the theta waves.
Yes. I was trying to explain that a lot, physical activities such as the meditation and relaxation or listening to the music sounds, you will get the theta waves. And theta waves is a kind of a status that your mind, your body is going to be relaxed and smooth, and the minimum stimuli can turn you jumping to the stimuli.
So it sounds like the more that you put your brain into states that you want to grow in the direction of, the more that helps retrain your brain to be like, hey, look, you can be in the state of relaxation, you can be in the state of love or safety or something like that, to gradually train your brain to say, oh, maybe the world is not so scary, or maybe the world is not so anxiety inducing, or something like that. So
absolutely.
Say somebody is dealing with... Sorry, what was that?
No, go ahead.
Oh, say somebody is dealing with something like narcissism, for example, and they might not necessarily want to change, or they say they do, but they're not putting in the work or something like that. Is there anything that their family can do to help them with this kind of change, or does personality change as to do with neuroplasticity have to come from within?
Well, when we are talking about the changes, we have to know that how much changes and how much is the a percentage of the changes. If you are looking for someone that he's not or she's not willing to make a changes in their life, maybe 5 to 10%, which is not significant. But when we are talking about some cases that they do have the willing, they do have the effort, and they want to make a changes, in the long run. So you will see little by little changes more than 50%. And when we are talking about the 50% is a lot. And, I had so many patients that working with, some specific people train in this type of the behavior changing, and they get a lot of improvement. They feel so calm, and they feel so relaxed, and they feel much more normal to the society.
Is this kind of work something that you think people could do by themselves, or would you recommend, what kind of support would you recommend that somebody has when they're trying to rewire their brain in this way?
When we are talking about the basic an element that we can make it changes, it's better to have the relaxation in the nature. If you look at the blue color of the trees, it's stimulated the theta waves in your brain. So that's you're outside, have a picnic, or go to the beach and have a relaxation day. Why? Because your brain received a lot of theta wave, which is essential for your relaxing mood. But if you are working in a society that you do have the access to the media that brings you a lot of tapes or hypnosis or any type of access to self therapist that will help you guys to change the wiring of your brain and change the wire of your feeling. Definitely after a while you will get the different result from the changes that you are putting in the environment and your brain.
So you said before that it's possible to improve or change by 50%. Is it possible through this kind of work repeatedly over a long duration of time to eliminate some unwanted symptoms like anxiety or feelings of isolation or something completely?
Well, we have to know that, we are basically all of us, we do have the anxiety, but the level of the anxiety is important. Sometimes the anxiety comes, in the functional level, it's help you, motivated you to do something and, obtain some kind of, achievement based on the level of the anxiety that you do have. But sometimes, anxiety is a kind of, destructive for you and is a kind of, blocking you to achieve whatever you have to do. So if we are talking about the level of the anxiety which is function or make you miserable during the day, we're going to use a lot of chemicals. First of all, we have to balance the chemical of the brain, which is the neurotransmitter, which is the serotonin, adrenaline, noradrenaline, and sometimes is the dopamine. But when we are talking about the complete, I should tell you that I never ever experienced any type of 100% in any aspect. Life and the medicine is not about 100%. But when we're talking about the improvement, means that we are forwarding from the lower amount to the higher amount. And believe it or not, sometimes we are looking to see many small changes, because the small changes is starting for the biggest changes. But since so far I never had 100% experience of the recovery.
So is this something that could benefit everyone?
Absolutely, yes. First of all, we have to make sure that we do have the awareness about what we do want and what we are going from the A point to the B point. And we have to know that there is a lot of effort, there's a lot of energy, and there is a lot of practice that you should do. It's not 1 day process, or it's not a 1 month process. So it's going to be a whole process for couple of months or sometimes a years, and finally we got the result. And we had many patients that persist during this journey, and they get fantastic result.
That's amazing. So what are the implications of this this kind of work?
Well, neuroplasticity is a big door for every aspect of the medicine. I'm not talking about the psychiatry. I'm not talking about just the, internal medicine. I'm not talking about just in, cardiovascular or Parkinson or anything else. It's a very vast, very big door for every aspect, because all of us are human being, and our human being is working with the brain, and the brain is the master organ in the whole body. If you do have the stroke, your brain is in the charge. If you do have, even though the heart attack, your brain is in the charge, because if you do have some type of the personality that makes you relaxed and smooth, the possibility of the heart attack, it will be decrease in you. So basically what I'm trying to tell you that, whatever workings with the brain, workings with the other part of the body organs. So Neuroplasticity is going to be very helpful in the stroke people, in Parkinson people, especially in people with the cardiovascular, event.
With the cardiovascular,
So
what was that? Sorry.
cardiovascular, yes, such as the heart attack. When,
Mm.
after neuroplasticity, because we do have a lot of depression and we do have the lot of problem with the functionality of the people after the heart attack, and neuroplasticity is very helpful to bring them back to the same the level of the function.
I mean, this sounds like it would give a lot of people hope, actually, in how this can help with some of these diseases that you might have to medicate for pain management or something like that, or that people don't necessarily think there's a cure for. But back to neuroplasticity and how it can help with personality change and personality growth. I know we're almost out of time. We have a couple of minutes left. Is there anything that you would like to add to close off our conversation?
Definitely. I just want to add it up that, if we do have understanding about the changes of our life based on the science. So we didn't have that much, information about the brain, neurotransmitter, functionality, because we didn't have the images. But now we do have the different type of the imaging. We do have the PET scan, we do have the MRI, and we do have the different type of the MRI working on the molecules unit of the brain and the function and the neurons. So basically, when we do have the the vast aspect of the science and the knowledge, we can be hopeful that of the life, and then we'll change it to the bigger changes.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I think we're out of time. Thank you so much for coming on air with us. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching Togetherness Media. I'm Anika Kulander, your host for this episode of Brain Function. Please share the show with all of your friends and family. We love bringing you this information that can help your lives. If you enjoy this show, please sponsor us. We really rely on your sponsorships to keep this show running. You can contact us on our website at www.togethernessmedia.com or click the donate button. All right, stay tuned for more content and see you next time.